How much time we got, Jared? Dr. Ooh. From NFL quarterback to Hollywood to the mayor's office, and now behind the mic at KXEX, this is the Alan Autry Show. No retreat.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody.
That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So, 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable. Free at last! Free at last! Thanks for
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now. 559-899-1550.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to Alan Autry No Retreat. I'm old Alan Autry along with Bullet Bob Leone, and we are just so happy and honored to have you with us here on Taco Tuesday. Excuse me, so named by Bobby Leone, but I'm sans taco today. The guys are upset. Well, Jeremy, you're here by yourself today, so yeah, the whole team, you know, they expect those tacos. I forgot. I get old. I forgot. Goodness
you forget it was Tuesday or what?
Well, they kicked my butt. Said if you're going to bring tacos, don't bring Taco Bell. I personally like Taco Bell. Is that commercial? I think accurate when you hear the bell. You ever seen those commercials where the guys, people are out doing their thing, completely nothing to do with Taco Bell, then something sounds like a bell, and then they just become catatonic, and they end up there at the drive-thru at Taco Bell. I get that.
You're like Pavlov's dog.
Yes. Right? When I get a Taco Bell craving, but I tell you, it will tick off people who are aficionados of real Mexican food.
Well, yeah, it's not.
That is not Mexican. So we have an all-points bulletin out to find the perfect taco in Fresno, Clovis, and the greater San Joaquin Valley. So if you think you have business out there, you think you make a great taco, and you know where you find the great tacos now? The taco trucks.
The food trucks, yeah.
Well, remember the day if you bought anything off a food truck?
I
bought some scallops off a food truck in Santa Monica. Me and 5 other guys were sick for 5 days.
Yeah, that's not...
No, seriously. I was peeing blood.
Oh, my word.
I thought I had bladder cancer, and it was just food poisoning from the
my
scallops
wife.
off of a food truck. So from then on, I was very leery. I mean, I wouldn't go, hey, these things has great. No way, food truck. Huh?
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I know, but
in the day, that was...
but from back in, that happened like in 1984. So between then and now, there's been a metamorphosis, if you will, and some of the best food you can
good food
find are on these folks. And I don't know, around the country, we've got to show that, you know, we got listeners from all over. Autry's Army is everywhere.
Yes.
We're everywhere. Be careful out there, folks. There could be a member of the Autry's Army living next door to you.
Yeah, that's true.
They're watching you. They know what you do, and they report right back to headquarters. And we have ways of working on your attitude to make you believe that faith, freedom, and family are worth defending.
Yes.
You think I'm kind of overdoing the old German guy because they put the Truth Ministry's no longer.
No, that last.
So my bit's done.
Would that last week and a half?
About a week and a half. They say they're going to resurrect it in 75 days.
Never going to happen.
No,
never going to.
Well, they'll try to resurrect it under some other name.
Well, that could be.
You know. The Protect Your Conscience.
A different name with the same concept.
The Child Protection Agency. You want to protect your children, let us hear everything that you're saying to anybody and let us file it and give us all your information, including your credit report.
Hey, by the way.
Yes, change subjects on me.
Yeah, I'm trying to bail you out.
Hey, it's for all Tuesday, man. A lot to cover, man. Did you see up there, Bobby? We weren't going to cover this. I just saw it on the monitors here in the studio. Somebody's trying to assassinate George W. Bush.
Yeah, I saw that. We don't know the full details because we're just looking at a site.
Man, somebody's got a long grudge.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't been relevant for how long?
That goes back a ways.
You see him the other day do that press conference talking about the the dangers and all of the ill thought out actions in he meant to say Afghanistan. He said Iraq.
Oops.
Oops. And he goes, man, I'm 70. What do you expect?
Hey, by the way, just before we get into the hard news.
There's nothing more hard than somebody wanting to kill a former president.
No, I understand that. No, I realize that. No.
Wait till we get some important stuff before we get there.
I didn't mean it that way.
Go ahead.
You know that.
Oh, here we're going to get in trouble. Huh?
No, well,
you think assassinating George W. Bush is funny, do you, Autry?
Hey,
he's a personal friend of mine. Actually, really, it's in my book.
Certainly.
I got to be very good friends with President Bush. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But some people want to know.
Yeah.
We talked on Friday about, I think it was Friday, about the mousetrap that you had seen at the supermarket. And you were, you didn't know which one to choose. The old traditional net cracker, with the spring, or this one that was like a glue trap.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd have to buy a cat to come and take care of the mouse that was stuck on the glue trap. So inquiring minds want to know if you ever caught that little mouse.
Well, here's what I did. I went into the living room.
What did you buy?
Well, it was late night. Kim was in bed out there. So I started talking to them. I did.
Tried to talk about the ledge?
I said, listen, dude, I talked about you a lot on the radio, and I'm going to give you a chance. For some way you got in here. You came from the outside. You weren't born here, so you know the way out. So I'm going to give you one last chance. Get out of the hole you came into my house in. You came in my house. I'm going to give you a break. Get out of here, or you're going to find yourself with your neck in an old school mousetrap, or glued and ready for an untimely and awful death that right now I haven't determined. Maybe, I think it was Kyle up in Northern California said, hey, just get a BB gun, put it in the back of his head. Which was not a bad
old school. Yeah.
I would buy a BB gun just for that.
Yeah,
I'm not going to crush him. Some of these people are not going to smash him. I don't think. I think that thing that Guillermo said he used, where it goes in there and it goes, and you squeeze it. It's like
that's a little rough.
Huh?
That's a little rough.
And I asked Guillermo. I said, "Did it make any sound?" He goes, yeah, it squeaked. And I said, well, how'd that make you feel? He says, I feel awful. So I'm not going to do that. But anyway, here's the point. I haven't seen the mouse since. I know I lost my mind completely. I know a mouse probably can't understand English, but mice have been a big part of our existence. We test everything, new vaccines, new procedures on mice first. Hey, by the way, before we get to the hard news, do you know that
good news for egg lovers
that rats laugh?
Really?
Yes, I saw this a reputable source. The internet on YouTube.
Well, it's got to be true.
No, but the guy who checked out, I checked him out, who was talking about these rats and
Is
what
he a
they
scientist
feel.
of some kind, or is he just a car mechanic or what?
Resume as long as a CVS receipt.
Okay.
It's a good one. But he says you could take a pen or pencil, and tickle a rat's belly. And if you get them, they have these microphones there. These things.
First, you have to find a stationary rat, I guess, before you can touch its belly. Right?
Oh you just load them up with some Xanax or whatever. But they're sitting there, and you tickle them with a pencil or a pen right there on the belly, and they have these really, really powerful microphones that can pick up, and you can hear them laugh. They like it. They'll sit there and just laugh. So.
Okay.
No, they're not human. No, I'm not trying to bleeding heart. And folks, somebody said, well, I bet you don't like even hunters out hunting. Yes, I do. I believe in thinning out the herd. Nothing against deer hunters. You go out, get your deer meat and all that. I just don't, I believe there should be a sport to it. You look at the deer, a lot of deer hunters now, they dress up in the camouflage. Okay, so a deer can't see very well anyway. So you put the camouflage on. They got guns with these scopes that you could hit a gnat's rear end from 1,000 yards with the scope. Then they climb up into the high ground, and then they douse themselves with doe perfume that makes make them smell like they're a doe in heat. So they get up there with a little ice chest full of brew and just sit there in the high ground till Bambi comes up right, a few feet from them, hey, forget about it. Talking about Alabama Crimson Tide. Let me shoot this sucker right here. And boom. Make it even the playing field a little bit. That's all I would say. Do it like the old school. Take off that dough smelling stuff. Keep your fatigues. I don't mind that. The ones I admire are the guys that go hunting with the bow and arrow. How about you, Bobby? That's a sport.
Well, my ex brother-in-law used to use a compound, what they call a compound. Have you ever tried to pull one of those?
No,
things?
they're tough though.
Those had a lot of pounds of pressure on that thing.
You don't want to get stuck with one
and
of those.
you know, the only thing he caught, but I probably shouldn't say. But he tried to go out hunting. He did that for a few years, using the bow and arrow. Yeah.
But I mean, anyway, let's leave. God, we tangent off on that. Well, I get emails that tape just because I'm trying to figure out how to kill a mouse. That I just, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. And I just would like to be as humane as possible.
Now that you've alienated all the deer hunters out there, so you're 2 for 2. Oh, yeah. You're 2 for 2 today.
You can't even say, hey, you need to even, I'd like to see the odds evened up a little bit to make it more of a sport. You just say that and suddenly you're a member of PETA. You're going to go out there and riot and tear down Harris Ranch up there for beef, and that's just ridiculous. Hey, before we get in the hard news and the serious stuff, remember the movie Top Gun?
Yeah,
sure you do, folks.
It was a great show.
It was a great movie. Great movie. Most people.
When was that made? Back in the mid
35 years ago. Do the math. I can't. Long time ago.
87. I don't know.
Tom Cruise was a young man. Well, there's been a very high anticipation for a remake of it. Heretofore, he has refused to do a sequel. Mm-hmm. He didn't really like sequels. All he did, what 10 sequels of Mission Impossible? Yeah. So kind of follow that cognitive dissonance there. But anyway, that being as it is, he decided, hey, I'm gonna do the sequel. They shot some of it right not too far from here in Fresno at Lemoore Naval Air Station.
NAS Lemoore, yeah.
And the reviews are in. They've had some initial reviews, some screenings for some critics. And here's the reviews.
Drum roll.
Awesome. They said the visuals on this movie are off the charts. They say the flight sequences in here are just not to be believed. So I say, okay, that in itself, even if you have a crappy storyline, if you got some good special effects like that are kind of groundbreaking, let's go see it. But apparently the plot has some very poignant moments in it.
Really?
Yeah, some really moments. And the one review that I read, though, was kind of, the guy said, it was kind of melancholy because you remember Tom Cruise as young Maverick, the rebel, and here he is, he's about 20-something years old back then, and here he is, 60-year-old Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
And just the whole way Cruise is playing the part, apparently, is like, you kind of see the passing of an era. You're passing of You kind of see yourself up there. Now you're not what you used to be. You can't fly as good as you could. You can't do whatever it is like you used to. But again, the consensus. And I don't. How much stock do you put in critics?
Not a lot.
Movies?
Not a lot.
Yeah, I've seen movies that critics have just panned and I love them.
Yeah. Usually, if they dislike a movie, and I see it, I usually like it. If it's the other way around, if they like a movie and I see it, I usually don't like it.
You know what I like the rating system is that Rotten Tomatoes, as they say in the South, Rotten Tomatoes.
Rotten green tomatoes.
It has on the left, it'll have the critics score. Then on the right, it has the viewers, the people's score.
Public score.
So a lot of times you'll see a score of like 62 by the critics. And over by the people, they have a little emoji of a popcorn, and then the people's number. And I saw on the other day it was 60-something% critics, they didn't like it, but 92% for the people.
Top Gun?
Not for Top Gun.
Oh.
Just a little.
General.
Yeah, in general, when you see Rotten Tomatoes, I kind of like that. They're breaking that down, going, kind of like we're saying, the critics see it this way, but here's what the people are saying when they come out of the theater. They really like it. So anyway, okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I got a mea culpa I got to make to Candace Owens. Little update. Melissa sent me an email about the formula crisis and a point in there I'd like to pass on to folks. I think she made a very, very good point. And Bobby, we got a little update on the John Donaldson, Tim Anderson. People are taking sides on that, and someone who may surprise you, their take on this, and one Stephen A. Smith. So this is Alan Autry, No Retreat with Bullet Bob. We'll be right back. And then we can go. Whatever you got. Otherwise, Biden's this.
We have a caller too.
Rope a dope. Oh, we'll get to Debbie. We'll get to the caller. I really like to get to this. Is it smart for Ukraine? It came out the other day. Spokesperson said that there's no way we're going to give up any land for a peace deal.
I happen to have that. Autry, Yermak, Central War must complete restoration, territorial.
They got to give Crimea back in 214
to give everything back
before they'll talk peace.
Ukraine.
About a long war.
Zelensky has ruled out any territorial consent.
Kind of set that up. Had come, I think that's dangerous.
Well, you've always talked about getting sides together, talking in a room, and there's
no money in that.
There's always concessions
to
be made, but apparently in this case,
is there any peace deal good enough if you don't want peace?
Well,
yeah, it's obvious. That $40 billion that they sent, half of it. $20 billion goes to American companies, defense contracts. Yeah. Half of it. So there's big money to stoke that war and keep it going as long as possible.
Yep. Well, at least that appears to be part of the incentive for the American companies that are supplying the munitions. I don't know if that's really
well. Austin, day before yesterday, Defense Secretary gave this token statement. But yes, we should talk. We should talk peace. But there was no emphasis on it. No grand pronouncement where you have a press conference, president there.
Well, just last month they said, when they were over there, they're supporting Zelensky to the max, and grind him into dust.
By the way, while you got one front going where you're funding in Ukraine, by the way, let's stoke the Taiwan war. Let's get China to attack Taiwan, and let's send about $100 billion to Taiwan
and troops on the ground.
Hey, Jeremy, you got JoJo queued up, ready to go? You do? That one I sent you.
Right up yours.
30 seconds.
Right here tonight.
Where did you get all these voices?
There's you tonight.
You sit at home at night and just do these?
Bullet Bob Leone.
Right after that, the Beatles.
The Beatles.
Was this the one?
And the Rolling Stone.
No, it's the JoJo, the Beatles song. Yeah. Just kind of let me know if you get it done. Hey, don't do the dance. It's the stress dance.
Use that handheld mic, would you?
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now. 559-899-1550.
And welcome back to Alan Autry No Retreat with Bullet Bob Leone on Taco Tuesday. So happy and honored and privileged to have you with us today. Here locally, Fresno, Clovis, my beloved Central Valley, to my home state of Louisiana, where we've got quite a few listeners. Those all over the country. And is Debbie still there? And we're going to go to caller Debbie. We haven't heard from her in a while. And she's, I think she's from Cincinnati, right, Deb?
Yes.
Yeah, Cincinnati Debbie.
Yes.
How you doing, girl? Haven't heard from you in a while.
I'm doing good. Pretty day here today, and God is good.
Yeah, God is good all the time here. How hot is it there? What's the?
It's been kind of cool the last couple of days. Matter of fact, I had a sweatshirt on all day yesterday, but it's warmed up today. It's probably about 70.
Yeah, we got 103 coming tomorrow here in Fresno.
Oh Lord.
In the shade.
Hey, oh God.
What you got for us?
Well, I have a mouse story for you. It's nothing earth-shattering, and it is not going to save the world or anything, but you know, I'm the girl that
But it
drag
might
races.
save a mouse. Yeah, I know.
And-
You're the drag race girl. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I had a mouse that kept getting in my car in the garage.
Oh.
And I kept trying to capture him because they can really destroy upholstery and carpeting and all that stuff. Well, anyway, I thought I'd caught him because I didn't see him anymore. This has been about 3 weeks ago. I went to the drag strip, and I parked my car. I was getting ready to run. I opened up the trunk and was getting my racing slicks out and getting ready to do my thing. And while I'm sitting down there waiting, and I see this little mouse come up out of the trunk, climb up over the lip of the trunk and go down on the bumper and run all the way across in front of me. And he goes all the way across 4 lanes of drag racers waiting to pull up to the gate, waiting to pull up to the staging lane. He runs and runs and runs and runs. He gets all the way across that in front of all those cars and gets to the grassy patch. And I thought, he's gone. He's happy now. He's going to be in with his little mouse buddies. And here comes this great big bird.
No. The story doesn't have a happy ending, does it?
And swooped down and got him, and away they went. And I almost cried. I mean,
You look at something like that. I've seen similar things, and you go, man, that poor little mouse. And then you think to yourself, man, I'm glad we're at the top of the food chain.
Yeah.
You imagine just doing it.
There was a couple of other guys sitting there with me. I said, there's that little booger that's been in my car. I said, off and on. I said, for the last couple of months. And I didn't see where he had destroyed anything, but he left a few little presents in the trunk of the car.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, I tell you, it's the circle of life. He was those little baby birds probably that are very happy. They got a little mouse hors d'oeuvre. Hey, Debbie, thank you for calling. Appreciate you so much. Thank you.
I really was hoping it would make you smile or giggle.
It did.
Something. You guys be blessed. I love listening to you, and take care.
Appreciate you, Debbie. God bless you and your family. We got Lane on line 2. How you doing, Lane?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Better than I deserve. Sitting there with Bullet Bob in Fresno, California, talking to you. Pinch me. I'm in heaven.
First of all, what was that crack about the tide?
About what? The tide?
About
You must have misunderstood me. You must have. I said,
transmission got garbled.
Hey, the coach there at the Tides got himself a little hot water, saying that Jimbo Fisher bought his whole team there, but Steve Spurriers came to his defense, Coach Saban's defense, and said, "Hey, what Saban said is true. Fisher did buy." But anyway, you got to come in on baby formula. What's
I have noticed that a lot of people are using social media in a positive way on this. They're taking pictures and letting people know where they can get different kinds of formula, what there is left. So I think that's been a really positive and great thing that they've done.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that because one of our loyal listeners, along with you and the other girls, is Melissa, sent me a nice email and enlightened me a great deal on, hey, said Alan, it's not, this formula it's not just for kids and infants that are, just healthy kids. Some kids and even some teenagers, adults have digestive issues. And this formula is one of the few things they can, ingest. And and it's very important, that formula, to them as well. I never thought about that.
Yeah. My wife was telling me that last night.
Yeah. So it's not just, it's a big deal. Not having that 43% being shut down at that plant there.
Working in assisted living facilities like I have, I have seen adults that have had to have the baby formula because of their digestive issues. And so I know that they're probably having a hard time getting a lot of that now.
Yeah.
And but people are taking pictures and let people know where they can get this stuff, and I think that's been so great.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, folks. It's allergy season here in Fresno.
Yeah.
But again, I've sat in the seat of mayor's office. I've quarterbacked the NFL team. Been on the only reason I say that, I've been in kind of a leadership situations, and I know you get blamed for things many times that you have no control of, and people look to you as the problem solver, and sometimes unfairly, because many times you don't have the power to do what they expect you to do. I get all that.
Right.
And I'm very sensitive to that and understanding that and have empathy for that. But on this thing here, I just see no way. It's baby formula, for goodness sake. You knew late last year that this was heading down the pike, and they surely knew. They weren't dumb as I am. They had to know how important this was to people in special diets and the older people, and they allowed this to happen. And they, and if you see us, well, we're in a situation where only 2 companies provide it. Then you have Joe Biden and the left going, there needs to be more companies. Oh, wait a minute. Isn't that called capitalism? Free market system? You were dead set against that. You should have a single payer health care. And I'm gonna segue to that, because you want to put our health care under one single payer system where you have no place else to go if you don't get the hip replacement in 3 years or what have you, or you can't pick your own doctor. Why? Because that's what happens when you have one plant that's producing, Bobby, almost a half of the formula, and then suddenly these woke far left anti-capitalist Marxists are suddenly going, where's all the other option? Where's the competition? Mm-hmm. Why is there just 2 companies? And you're saying, why don't you take notes here? And you might want to go back that and apply that to your ideology, which wants to put every single thing under the purview of the government.
Yeah.
I think it's and people, well, that's a stretch out, and you went political. No, I think certain things happen that that are analogous and are a direct, valid comparison to what could be if you follow the same situation, and you don't have competition if you take competition out of it. So anyway, I appreciate you, Lane. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Lane.
You have a good one.
Thank you. Bobby, let's take a real hard turn here. 12:33. We're going to hang here this next segment. This Ukraine situation, I said early on, to believe that the Ukraine, a non-nuclear country, even with the so-called support from the West, including the United States, would have a chance in a long, protracted war to be the second largest nuclear power in the world. All this misinformation, if you will, that Russia only spent $61 billion on it. It's outright lie, not true. They spend much more than that on their military. That you're going to be able to win that war if you frame and identify and define winning as Austin and Biden does, which is to win means you grind Russia and Putin and the Russian military into dust so they can no longer be relevant in any capacity, economically, militarily, socially, in the world. And you expect to win that war. And I said early on, to me, it's like the Ali rope-a-doping Foreman. We came out strong. Ukraine came out strong. The West backing them up. Oh, yeah. And just like Ali, you're waiting for you to punch yourself out. Then you're going to come back. It's kind of, I think, what's happening now. You got some facts and figures there. I want you to share with us.
This was from a couple of days ago where Zelensky ruled out any territorial concessions or any ceasefire. And then his presidential chief of staff, Andrei Yermak, said the war must end with complete restoration of Ukraine territorial integrity and sovereignty.
Including Crimea.
So they're saying this isn't going to stop until we recover our land that's been lost to date, and probably Crimea as well, back in, 2014. So they are definitely not in a concession peace talk mood, and we've talked so much about this, and my opinion still hasn't changed. This is going to be a war of attrition. attrition. And if you look at, I mean, every day you see cities, villages, towns bombed out. There's nothing.
They've already taken Mariupol.
They've taken Mariupol.
They're going to go over there, slide over, and take Odessa.
Mariupol's destroyed.
So you got the Black Sea under your control. So
Yeah,
nothing can come in now.
Yeah, the eastern part of the country is a mess. It reminds me, if anyone remembers looking at photos of Dresden, Germany in World War II. All you saw was bombed out shells of buildings. More people are dying. And I just don't know where this is going to go good for Ukraine. Putin, as far as I know, has no timetable. I think initially he had a timetable. He thought it was going to happen quick. That was his timetable. That didn't happen. So where do we go from here? What does the Ukraine do from here?
I took a lot of heat. Those are questions early on. I took a lot of heat for saying, look, Vladimir Putin is not some insane, crazy individual who just knee-jerked into this war. That's not the Russian method. They're methodical. This is where chess was born. He's a chess player. He has a strategy in mind. Now, he may be evil as evil can be, okay? But he did not go in this thing. The Kiev thing, obviously, we're going to go in, plan A. Maybe they'll sit down the Ukrainian military will set down their weapons and passively give in like they did in many cases in Crimea. That didn't happen. He had plan B, C, D, and we're seeing it unfold. And you're at a situation where, and a statement was made where I became very, very concerned, and it validated my belief, jaded and as cynical as it may be, that follow the money. And in particularly in war, people get filthy, filthy rich on war. $40 billion we just sent over there. People don't realize $20 billion goes to American companies like Raytheon and Halliburton. It's going to go right back for missiles and all that stuff. When Austin and the president said emphatically, along with Blinken, our Secretary of State, that we will not be in a position, to tell the Ukraine or have any input with Ukraine on how the war is waged and what victory looks like. He says that's up to the Ukrainian government, Ukrainian people. That may sound very magnanimous, but it's freaking dangerous. Listen, you're financing a war like this. You have kids starving in Africa because of the grain that was being shipped there and all of the food from the Ukraine that has stopped, literally starving to death. You have a supply chain stop now that the whole world, but in particular in Africa, where it really is right now, life and death, and kids are dying right now. It's just ask the UN. It's not me just saying that. And you're telling me, look, you're not going to have input on saying, hey, President Zelensky, you need to consider giving up a little bit of land to have this, because we have made the assumption, the determination that Russia's ready to stay here for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it takes. And the world can't handle that. You have an obligation to the rest of the world to compromise. But no, you're saying we are not going to tell them at all. You can't do that. And especially, and I'm going to say it's going to get me in trouble. But look it up. Putin's definitely evil act to do what he's doing. But if you think the Zelensky-led government in Ukraine was squeaky clean Boy Scouts,
another story. Yeah, exactly.
Do your homework.
Exactly.
It, by every analysis, was one of the top 3 most corrupt countries and governments in the world. They shut down opposition. They shut down the newspapers. People did disappear that were critics. Sound familiar? So it's not like you went in and you're doing this deal with Winston Churchill to give, real democracies some equipment and get it on their side. Bob, what do you think? Well, Laura, you're on the line. We'll go to you, Laura, in just a second.
Is that Laura Fisher?
That's Laura.
Yeah, she's always got some good information.
Laura Fisher cut bait.
Yeah. Okay.
She hasn't heard that about a million times.
Well, I guess, anytime you get involved in a war, It's the civilian population that suffers. This quote collateral damage. Collateral damage is a nice term to say civilians are being
Your
killed.
life doesn't matter.
Yeah,
as much.
civilians are being killed.
Yeah.
Young children are being killed. It's a terrible situation, and I just don't know how does Ukraine claim a victory out of this whole thing. Their whole eastern part of the country's fairly destroyed. People are dying. So what is the victory?
Well, you don't invest this much money and personnel to a country, and you call it partnership. We're partnering with Ukraine, yet we, the free world, Russia, have no say in what the peace conditions will be. That's crazy.
Right. Yeah.
That's insane. That's not a partnership.
Backing yourself.
That's having blind faith in human beings who, number one, we know are all flawed. And something this important, we're saying we're going to, that's not showing respect to the Ukrainian government. That is showing disrespect and a callousness to the rest of the world, including the young kids in Africa that will never see their 4th birthday.
Yeah.
Because the food supply was shut off because of this war. And I just really, really, really find that offensive.
Yeah.
You don't be telling me, hey, you're going to they're getting ready to write another check, another $40 billion. It's going to fuel inflation here in America because what? Half of it's going to American companies. What American companies do, they put it in the American economy. So you're overheating the economy again while the interest rates are going up. It's insane what they're doing. And then just say, no, we don't have any input. We have no say in what the peace negotiations. We have no say.
Yeah.
It's all up to you. However long you want to keep fighting, however long you want to keep this carnage going, you just go ahead. We'll keep funding this. That is not good, and that's an understatement. Laura, you there? Laura Fisher. Fisher alert.
Hello.
Hello, Laura. How you doing, dear?
I'm good. I watched the Monk debates the other day. I don't know if you watched those or not, but
no.
A gentleman by the name of Mark McFall, he was a diplomat to Russia from 2009 to 2014. He also works at Stanford University as a political science professor. He was very, very, very brutally honest about what has been going on with the Biden administration in Ukraine, and I actually did a little research, and I've got documents that I'm going to add to your flash drive to corroborate this. Going back as far as 2014, when Biden was dealing with Poroshenko, he lied to them and told them that the United States will get them into NATO. Not to worry, they'll get them into NATO because they deserve to be there, and that way they'll have the protections that that they need against Russia. And then the moment he became president, he began beating that drum of getting Ukraine into NATO. It's not going to happen because of the 1995 revisions that were made, but he's continued to stoke this. And he literally is the one, him and Blinken are the ones that have fomented this war in its entirety by continually saying to them, we're going to get you into NATO. And what people need to understand, anybody that calls you a Putin apologist and calls anybody else that, I'm going to ask these people real quick because I think this is probably the most succinct example of why Russia is doing what they're doing. Like it or not, good or bad. Imagine for a moment that Canada becomes allied with China. And Canada says, oh, you know what, Xi Jinping? Sure, build the military base here.
Very good point.
Do military exercises here. Bring in missiles here. We're good with that. How do you think the United States, the people of the United States would feel knowing that the Chinese had a military base and had military forces on our border?
Exactly. And we know how we would react because we did it in the 60s with Kennedy and Cuba, the missile crisis. Exactly what it was about. It was intolerable. It was unacceptable. And we were ready to go to nuclear war. That's when Kennedy said, if you cross this line, there will be a full retaliatorial response. Even as us, Bobby, and 11 years old, knew what that meant. That meant he's going to push the button. And
the thing is, what people need to understand going forward, there is zero incentive for Putin to come to a negotiating table for any reason, because The longer he drags this out, the more refugees are going to spill into Eastern Bloc countries that already have separatist areas that are growing by the day because they're being crushed economically by these refugees coming in. They're not getting any money from the money from the United States. And it's going to start looking more and more appealing to go back into the Russian Federation than to deal with this crap.
Well, I look, here's what really, well, a lot concerns me about this war. I think people here, very reputable, powerful people like Lindsey Graham, Republicans and Democrat, are just beating the war drums, the likes of which, bro, I've never seen, as if there's no chance in hell that Putin would ever use a nuclear weapon. And to me, that is a horrendously scary as heck mindset to be in when you have basically said, we want to end Russia's existence as we know it today, meaning any kind of powerful force, whether it be economically, militarily, social influence around the world, whatever, to grind them into dust so they never rise again. That's an existential threat. And when you have somebody like Putin or anyone, any leader, who feels, now we could say that he shouldn't feel that way or not. He's got a lot of reason to feel that way because our top folks are saying that's our motive.
Yeah, but
you're going to use if it gets to that point and you think you're going to be ground into dust, you're going to launch those weapons. And then the thing is, you can't do an oops do-over. You know, I didn't really mean that when they're flying over and you got less than 30 seconds before impact and the whole world changes, Bob.
Yeah.
But
it's not going to get to that point, Alan, because like you've said all along, Putin's playing chess and we're playing checkers.
Absolutely.
And that's true because he knows, he's watching this. Georgia, 50% of the country of Georgia has already said they want back in the Russian Federation.
Yeah.
They've already said it. They're pressuring their government. And any one of these Eastern Bloc countries that enter before 1995, all they have to do is send a letter to the United States saying, we want out of NATO.
Yeah.
And the pressure is growing on these countries. He's going to get what he wants just by doing what he's doing in Ukraine. He doesn't have to do anything more or anything less. And these European countries, the big three, they have found ways to circumvent their own sanctions.
Exactly.
So they're still buying in rubles. The ruble is at its strongest that it's been since 2015. Why would he go to a negotiation table?
Well, that's my point. And I'm going to let Bob say a few words here. If you could stay on the line, Laura, if you can. I hear you have a little static back there, but if you can hang on, I'd like to get on just what you said, Bob, Bullet Bob's reaction, because that latest news, I saw that where the ruble, and if you hear what Biden said when he put these sanctions on, he was going to crush the ruble and crush the Russian economy. And you look, and one of Putin's strategic axioms was that the Western world does not have any patience. Once the going gets really tough, they will back down to preserve their comfort at home, whatever that may be. Oil to heat their homes, cool the homes, their economy. And that's exactly what's happened. 54 of the countries that sanctioned Russia, half of them now have signed up for shipments of oil and gas from Russia, from Gazprom, the state-run energy company. Over half of them have come back in and said, okay, we need this. We need this. They're already starting to fold.
The reality hits.
Yeah, they're already starting to fold like a bad hand in poker. It's starting, as you said, the ruble. And you got Putin, that's another example. He's playing chess. And you're making the West look like fools. You've gotten already now, election year coming. You're start seeing the fervent reporting coming from the liberal media on this war. But Bobby, you got some.
Well, I always love to hear Laura's take on all of this stuff because she does a lot of research.
Yes, she does
that I don't do. But we've sat here and debated, Laura. Where does Ukraine go from here? How do they proceed? Obviously, Zelensky. Well, it appears Zelensky and his folks are not going to concede anything. and there will be no peace unless they get all of their territory, reclaim all of their territory. So what do you see?
And they're never going to get a no-fly zone.
Yeah. So what do you see as the future for Ukraine, and how do they proceed from here?
There is no proceeding from here for them, unfortunately, because the EU announced 36 hours ago, you're not getting in.
Oh, okay. They did. I didn't see that.
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
Well, they are not getting to the EU. That was made abundantly clear, and that was even stated by Macron. Not one of these little countries, but Macron himself said it's not happening. So you can just pack that up and put that away because you're not getting in.
Okay.
He's not getting into NATO. I don't care what Biden and Blinken tell him. Until he gets it through his head that he is never, ever going to have the protections that NATO offers, because he's never going to get into NATO.
You're talking about Zelensky.
Zelensky, yeah.
Period. Yeah. Then this is going to go on. And for Putin is prepared for this. For Putin, in his fever dream, they were going to lay down their arms and all that, but he's a realist too. I mean,
absolutely.
He is
Come on, folks. Come on,
insane.
Folks. You're not. Come on, exactly.
He's a megalomaniac, but he's not delusional.
Exactly. He had plan B, C, D, and the rest of the alphabet.
He's got almost $3 trillion in gold. So It's not like they're in a recession, but it's no worse than what we went through in 2008, what we've been through before. And they've lived like this the majority, I don't know, 5 going back how many generations. So this is nothing new for the Russian people. And they understand that sometimes this is the cost. Unlike the newer generations of our country, they've never had to make a sacrifice when we were in war. So they don't get it. And that's part of the problem. When you've got a third of our Congress that's under the age of 40, they have absolutely no comprehension or understanding what it means to ration food because you're in a war or anything. Because I think about it, everywhere we've ever had, everything has been business as usual.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's what I think.
So,
the only way out is this, and it will take time. This is, again, I'm a simple man. And you look at the situation, and I'm logical. I'm linear thinking on this thing. And the wild card out there is still China. I think immediately, if not sooner, let me get this out and I'll get yours mine. Immediately, if not sooner, the United States should change its course and call for peace talks, demand that they get at the table. Putin will be smart enough to say, okay, he may have no intention of settling it right now. He's got more to win, but he will send a delegation to this, and you begin the peace talks. You pressure, you meaning the United States, which is the big kahuna in all this, for Zelensky, and you'll get rest of Western Europe on it like starving dogs in a meat house. They want this thing ended like now. And you say to Zelensky, look, you have to be open to some territorial concessions and losses here. You're just going to have to be open. You don't have to, but be open to it. Get that agreement with him. You get to the table, then because China, their supply chain right now with all this big lockdown, they're bleeding money and finances in every sector of their economy. They want nothing more than to have these supply chain things done, open, manufacturing going, because their people are getting restless. And so then you have China going with Russia going, okay, let's work on trying to come to a settlement agreement, having Xi Jinping pressure his buddy Putin, have Cher pressure Sonny to come in and with real intentions of finding some peace agreement. Having said that, until we get to that point, because as you get to that point where they're talking, that's going to be a long, protracted process, as it is possibly years. But you got to get to that inevitable point. You got to get to that inevitable point where they're at the peace table.
He's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. He has too many problems at home right now. I don't know if you looked at the email
but a lot of it's caused by this as well. This war.
Well, no, this started beforehand.
Agreed.
This has been going on, but I find very, very, very alarming about all of this. As I told you, it's been rumored that that he's ill. Well, his vice premier, Li Keqiang, has been coming out publicly and criticizing him. criticizing him for the last several months. He's been going to different areas of China and ingratiating himself with the people. He's been visiting businesses that Xi Jinping targeted and attacked. He's forming a coup. And the thing that's most alarming about this for me is that this is being reported in the Chinese media. CCP is not shutting down these criticisms of Xi Jinping at all. Currently, right now in China, there are over 300 million people on complete lockdown.
Well, then which begs the question, why would you want this extra headache? Where does this help him? Where does the war with Russia and Ukraine help that situation?
He's trying to clean up the mess at home. He has a mess going on in South Korea right now. He has a mess going on in Africa right now because of the
yes, but here's my point. But Laura, following that thinking, that's what I'm saying. He's got world partners all over, including United States, pressuring.
He doesn't want part of this.
Yes, but he's being pressured by the rest of the world who thinks he has influence with Putin, and it's causing him more headaches because the free world's looking at him, going, "Look, the perception trumps truth any day of the week."
Out of helping them with their banks.
No, but that's not going to happen. It's going to be a quid pro quo. It's going to say, "Hey, we're so deep in sanctions here, we don't want to look like hypocrites, but our economies can't take it. This Russia embargo is killing us. Everybody's hurting all over the world. You got to help us, Xi, so we can help you. So you talk to your buddy Putin, pressure him, and then let's talk on these other ends of where we can help you." It's deal making. It's like Thomas Sowell said. There's no solutions, just trade-offs. There's no solution to anything. There's trade-offs, and we got to look where the trade-offs are. Don't you think?
I mean, it's a sweet idea on paper, but it ain't going to happen.
All right. Well, I know you're not above. When I say something,
I mean, I read a lot about China, and I know a lot about.
Yes, you do.
He's not going to do it.
Well, listen.
He's not going to do it.
And I know you well enough by now. You're on the air here almost, and I've said it many times. When I've taken a position based on the truth, the old saying, "Truth will set you free, but first it'll make you miserable." I've said things on the show that I would pray to God would not happen. But I see them happening, and I'm the first one to say, I hope I'm wrong. And I know you, I'm going to put words in your mouth, but I know, having said this, you hope you're wrong. You could very well be right, and that's a shuddering thought that there's nobody going to be, that there's no avenue for peace here. There's no person of influence out there that can get them to the peace table. That's a frightening thought, but you may be right. I hope you're wrong.
But here's the thing that you've got to understand is Xi Jinping is in a position right now. He's about to go up for election for a third term. This is where he finds
that
himself
won't be rigged.
Because he's not going to be able to make these negotiations. He's not going to be able to go in there and do any of this without the backing of CCP, period. He's not. Because as soon as he does something without CCP's okay, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to burn him in every way they possibly can. And if they have a slow coup moving against him with Li Keqiang, they're not going to let him do this, and he's not going to take that risk because they'll throw him under the bus so fast. He's fighting right now to stay in power, and he's not going to take any chance against CCP. It's not going to happen. Period.
Well, Laura, thank you for calling in. I appreciate you, dear. Thank you for calling. We're running out of time here. Just a few seconds left in the show. Thank you so much for your analysis, and again, very well thought out. Could very well unfold that way, but again, I hope you're wrong, dear. Thank you for calling. We'll talk to you soon. Bobby, last words, man.
It's a mess. I mean, it's a mess, and I just Ukraine is in a bad spot, and more people are going to die the longer this thing goes on, and that's a sad fact.
Well, folks, that's sad, and it's said on here on Taco Tuesday. We got to say goodbye right now, but God bless you. God bless your families. God bless America, and remember. Do your best. Let God do the rest. That's all he expects of you, so that's all you can expect of yourself. Love y'all. See you tomorrow on Big Wednesday.
Till then.